against Michael Flynn. An explosive new court filing on behalf of the president's former national security advisor is demanding the FBI search its own internal database for documents relating to Flynn's fateful January 2017 interview at the White House. Flynn's legal team claiming the FBI substantially manipulated interview notes. The FBI says all the changes were, quote, largely grammatical and stylistic. Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to federal investigators under former special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe, but his sentencing still up in the air after being delayed for months. And breaking news late tonight. The government has just admitted it made an error with regard to key evidence in the case, and it involves Peter Strzok. So let's go to the source. Michael Flynn's attorney, Sidney Powell, joins us live. Sidney, good to have you back on Fox News at Night.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, so let me ask you about this letter that comes out tonight that the government essentially reaches out to you, and you've had questions about handwritten notes that dealt with Flynn's interview back there in January of 2017. Tonight, the government admitting this, saying we were informed that the notes we'd identified as Peter Strzok's were actually the other agent's notes, and what we had identified as the other agent's notes were in fact Strzok's notes. We understand that this has caused some confusion, and we regret our error. Why is this so significant, Sidney?
Well, it's a rather crucial point of their case. The entire case against Mr. Flynn depends on what the agent said that he said in the interview that they didn't warn him about or, take any verbatim recording of or anything like that. So their entire case depends on what these two agents said. And now we're realizing 18 months later, they're looking at their file and realizing that, oh, by the way, we got the names of the two agents crossed on the notes. The notes you thought that were Mr. Strzok's, that we told you were Mr. Strzok's, are not. They're the other agents and vice versa. It's appalling. What else have they gotten wrong? We can't trust anything they say. This is all the more reason that we have to ask Judge Sullivan to produce every single document out of the FBI file, make them search their Sentinel system, produce the original 302, which is still missing. They can't explain that. And the only way it could be missing is if it's affirmatively destroyed, and there would be evidence of that. So they have a lot of explaining to do.
And so people, just a reminder that 302s are those eventual reports about the interview that they had with someone like General Flynn in the days after they had talked with him. The Hill, in an opinion piece by James Davidson, does say this, though. Despite the recent court filing by former National Security Advisor and retired General Michael Flynn about altered FBI interview summaries, there is unlikely to be any revelation that will overcome his admission under oath that he did, in fact, lie. Is it your hope that you will uncover something that is such a misrepresentation of the government's case or exculpatory evidence that would change that? I mean, he did admit to these things and make a plea deal.
Well, there's an explanation of that that's in our filings. Whoever wrote that story obviously hasn't read both of the briefs that are so important. We know that Agent Strzok conducted the interview as a pretext. We found a text message that the government didn't produce that said that. And we know that Lisa Page had a hand.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to put that up so people will know what you're talking about. This is February 10th, 2017. I believe this is the message you're referring to. He said, I made your edits and sent them to Joe. I also emailed you an updated 302. I'm not asking you to edit it this week, and I just wanted to send it to you. That's allegedly Peter Strzok to Page. You believe that is a discussion about the Flynn 302 or those interview notes?
Yes, that's a discussion about the Flynn 302, included as Exhibits 9 and 10 of our filing a week or two ago, are the changes, the material changes that were made in the 302 that night. So we have tied them directly to that email exchange.
Okay, so to the FBI's point, though, they say any changes were grammatical or they were stylistic. They say any allegations about content changes or things that would have made a substantive difference, that's just not accurate. Your response?
Well, people can look at the exhibits for themselves. Actually, it may be Exhibits 11 and 12, but they added a definitive statement that General Flynn did not say something that he had said, and another statement that he had elicited some responses to questions about the Ambassador Kislyak, what he had said in response, and there's nothing in the notes that supports that whatsoever. It's made up out of whole cloth. I would encourage everyone to look at the exhibits for themselves and the comparison of the February 10 302 with the February 11 302. It shows dramatic changes made. No one could possibly call them grammatical and stylistic when you add whole sentences. out of thin air.
And do you have hard evidence at this point as to who made the changes? Which changes?
No, we do not know. Without the metadata and the audit trail, we cannot say who made the changes, other than the text message of Mr. Strzok reflects that he went back to the office that night to make Lisa Page's changes and whatever else he wanted to change on his own.
Are you hopeful that there will actually be something that would overturn this plea deal? I mean, do you think you have that much? Or are you hopeful that what you'll uncover will be a missing piece?
Well, there's already far more than enough to overturn the plea deal. I don't want to go into the details of that now, but it's certainly apparent in our motion and our brief of what those are. But I think we're going to find even more that establishes the wrongful conduct of the government. We want the American people to see the whole truth about what happened here in the pretextual investigation of General Flynn and then the made-up comments in the 302.
All right, Sidney Powell, we will continue to follow the case. There have been so many twists and turns in this one. Keep us up to date.
Thank you, Shannon.